Hey everybody, it's Bust with Bust Builds Decks number 36. Today we'll be battling with a 3-star Kaisa up against the 4-star Aurelion Soul in the Starforger quest. And so it feels like a little odd timing for me to be playing Kaisa. We had these massive windstorms out here in Kansas City over the past week. We got to the Janna quests a little bit too early and the Kaisa quests a little bit too late. We should have saved Kaisa for the summers when it's 115 degrees out here. But nonetheless, back on track. What I feel like I've really decided over this past weekend of grinding out these Path of Champions quests is that getting all of the champions up to 6 stars is probably just isn't super realistic. Like if you've been grinding Path of Champions since the 2.0 release, maybe you're somewhat close, or if you want to spend a bunch of money on the various gems, you can get there that way. But the way that a lot of these quests are set up, I kind of feel like you're probably just going to really shoot for one champion out of each faction. That seems like a fairly realistic goal to get the upgrades in with. And then you're going to just have the other ones kind of lingering at the 3-star phase. And with the way a lot of these quests are set up and the monthly challenge, I feel like that's probably good enough. To most certainly deal with what exists in Path of Champions now, and it's probably a pretty good start for what we'll see with whatever Riot has coming for us in terms of the future releases. And so I've chosen Kaisa to be the Shuriman champion of choice. I like a lot of the Kaisa gameplay. The big scouty, overwhelming attacks with a ton of keywords is something I really enjoy, and it strikes me as a lot more interesting than trying to play someone like Talia or Nidalee. And so Kaisa, it's the one I'm wanting to kind of push forward with. Hopefully you'll get to see a bit more Kaisa in the upcoming days. I did want to kind of call out all of that nonsense as I have done a bit of leveling up to our Kaisa. She does have some of the additional abilities and skills, even though she is only at 3 stars. And so she has the standard 3-star stuff. We get the +1 starting mana at the beginning of each game. Our allies with 3 keywords get mini evolve, so they get the +2/+2 at 3 keywords, and they get another +2/+2 at 6 for the evolve ones. And then at the round start, you give your strongest ally a positive keyword. It is a interesting ability to try and micromanage in terms of getting the most out of the second skins from Kaisa, trying to get one unit really built up while it's kind of a sequencing space to where you like play a 2-drop and it gets a keyword, then you play a 3-drop and it gets the keyword, then you play a 4-drop and it gets the keyword. You really want to try and stack all of the keywords onto one unit if you can, and so it brings a bit of an interesting little mini game in terms of the attacks and how you build up your units. But the one that I really wanted to call out in terms of the bonus stars is I have loaded the Hunter's Machete up onto the support champions. And so any support champion we get right from the beginning of the game is going to have the Scout keyword, and the Scout keyword is immensely powerful on Kaisa. And so as we mentioned with every single deck, you need a way to scale, you need a way to elusive, overwhelm, or rally, and you need a way to unconditionally remove an opposing unit. Kaisa, in terms of that middle piece with the elusive, overwhelm, or rally, typically wants Scout more than any of those. And the reason for that is it lets you use the Acathian Rain multiple times within a turn, ideally AoEing your opponent for like 8 or 10 damage on each attack. And so having this kind of guaranteed Scout on whatever champion we add to the deck is immensely, immensely powerful. Knowing that we're going to have access to the most important keyword. In terms of the other things, the scaling, Kaisa does kind of okay. The Acathian Rain scaling up with the number of keywords works more than just kind of the stat scaling that we would see out of a champion like Lux, and then the mini evolve and the actual evolve that our units see typically give us enough stats to just power through the game, so we're okay there. The thing that we're really going to be looking for here is that third pillar, the unconditional removal spell. The Shurima removal is garbage. It is just some of the worst removal in the game. Quicksand is basically as good as it gets, and it turns out that's not actually a removal spell. And so that's what we're going to be focusing the majority of our deck building efforts on, is finding some way to unconditionally remove an opposing unit. I don't care if it's a Will of Ionia, if it's a Entomb, if it's a stun of some sort, whatever. We have to have some way to get the gigantic unit out of combat. And so the last thing I'm wanting to kind of call out here is not only have I upgraded some of Kaisa's relics, this is the first champion that I've ever upgraded to epic in terms of the relic slots. And so I'm one of those people as to where if I'm playing a game like Skyrim, I don't like to cheat, but I do have to go and turn off the backpack weight thing because I just want to carry around literally everything. I've got those worthless like shrubs and gems and leaves from the early game we're carrying on to the very end because I have such a challenging time just coming out and getting rid of those. And that's what happens to me when it comes to whatever the upgrade thing is. I'm trying to search it out on the list here. I can't remember the name of it, but whatever the quest is that you have to beat, like you equip and you beat the quest and that opens the epic slot, that's like a consumable item, and I really wanted to kind of pick and choose what champion that was going to apply itself to, and with like 60 champions in the game and only like 6 or 8 of those consumables, it was kind of tough to make that decision, so I just never did it. But now that I've really kind of decided that we're going to pick one champion out of each faction, and Kaisa is our Shurima champion, then I felt a little bit better about splurging and putting that epic item on her kit. And so we went with full build. I like this full build plus Banshee's Veil setup with Kaisa. You hit 4 keywords without casting a second skin. And the way I like to describe this setup is you have some games to where you already just have all of these keywords and you could have second skinned them onto Kaisa and it doesn't really do anything. The thing with those games is you probably already won that game anyways. You're just already super overwhelming your opponent. You have all the keywords, you have units on board. You're not losing that game whatsoever. But the games to where it's like you have to jam a Kaisa on turn 4 and you've only got 1 or 2 keywords on the board and she's just not doing enough because you're copying like Brash off of a random evolve unit. Like those games that you just outright lose, but this setup lets you win it. It's very easy to pop off with 6 keywords when you start off with 4, and I really like the elements that this brings to the table. The other thing to kind of call out with this style of build is whenever we do have Scout on Kaisa, we want her to have Overwhelm. And so what you would typically see is you attack with Kaisa, the Acathian Rain kills off the unit, and then you don't get to deal any damage. With her having Overwhelm, it eliminates that problem. So we can hook in a 1 health unit, have the Acathian Rain kill it, we do the full Overwhelm damage to the opponent, then we get to attack again, get that Overwhelm again, be off to the races in terms of finishing off the game. And so that is it. That's the champion. That's the strategy. Let's get ourselves back down here to Aurelion Sol. See if we can't get ourselves a good little adventure in today. Okay. So let's see. Zoe at the beginning. Didn't see what the other ones were. We usually just do the mini-boss battles as far as what you'll get to see. And so there's a Fiora and a Lulu, fairly easy champions. And so I think we're going to be good. We're going to be in good shape. Let's see what turns up. Starting the game with a Greenglade Lookout is fine to me. I don't really want to burn our rerolls this early in the run. We can figure out something a little bit better to do with them. Ideally, we would go a little bit bigger on the support champion because I typically want to get a cheaper support champion so that when we do play Kaisa on turn 4, we already have the scout unit on board. And so we would ideally find a champion that costs 1 less than her so that we can chain them and to play appropriately. So the Survey Corps is fine. The Greenglade Lookout isn't the worst unit in the world, being a touch interactive in the early game and giving us the cost reduction a little bit later. And so off to battle with Zoe. Round end, the foe's units get 1-1. Sure thing. Let's see what's up. All right, reasonable enough start. We got a curve, we got some interactivity, we got a Kaisa already in hand. Let's get ourselves into battle here. Here's that Greenglade Lookout. Picking up the lifesteal keyword right at the beginning is kind of interesting. This is what I'm talking about in terms of, do we really want to... the kind of micromanagement aspect that you have as far as all of these units go, as to where if we add the Betheldi Elder to the board here, it's going to be a bigger unit than the Greenglade Lookout. It's going to pick up a new keyword, and that's not what I really want. I want my keywords landing onto this Greenglade Lookout so that we can potentially just get a huge stack of keywords before Kaisa hits the board. Now, I don't think that we're going to be able to pull that off. They are going to start moving over to the Void Blaster, but that's the kind of general idea with the champions in this space. And now this is a perfect visualization as to why I really like having this big stat keyword monstrosity on top of Kaisa. As she hits the board, we only had 4 of the 6 keywords, and so it's a little bit short of flipping. As she comes down, we did, unfortunately, kind of miss in this sense since we already had Spell Shield, Overwhelm, and Tough, but the vast majority of the time, Kaisa is going to be able to just immediately flip, and then we'll be off to the races in terms of getting those Acathian Rains happening. And so we'll see if we can't pick up something good here. I was going to say Fearsome or Quick Attack are still on the table. We will pick up the Quick Attack. That'll give us the last thing that we need to hit the Evolve and hit the level up on Kaisa. Then we're going to second skin off of that Green Glade Lookout. I'm going to look to hook Zoe in with an Exhaust. And we're going to be in pretty good shape here. No problems going forward. And so the Exhaust on Zoe is what we want. I don't think with opponent only having 1 mana, we have to worry about the Lookout failing here, right? Because it is going to be susceptible to like a Hush or something. It doesn't actually have Spell Shield, but doesn't look like it's going to matter. With the opponent at 1 mana, it should be a challenging place to actually come in and defend that Zoe in combat. All right, but looking pretty good. We might take a little bit of incidence damage from these elusives. Ideally, we can just get that cleaned up next turn with our Kaisa getting some lifesteal in. We may not actually be able to. I'm not going to do the mathematics on this to determine if the Acathian Rain is going to kill them before the combat happens. I'm also not certain if the Acathian Rain counts towards lifesteal. Like, it says we're gaining 12? I don't know entirely what I think about that. Let's just go ahead and cast these spells real quick. I don't think we have enough keywords to... doesn't even really matter here. How much keywords we have to finish this off. We need 12. We're not at 12.
The suit's a quick study. Come on!
Alright, so we'll just slap everybody in. I unfortunately tend to get a bit lazy with Kaisa, because you look at this attack and there's like, it's fine. We're never failing. Everyone has Spell Shield. Everyone is fine. Nothing can go wrong. And I assure you, at some point we're going to fail through that. But at least it looks for right now the attack was okay. The challenges we could have made didn't hurt anything. We got the max health. GG Zoe. On to the next battle.
A small victory is a victory all the same. Good work.
Right. Good stuff. Let's see what support champion turns up. And so our post-victory battles, our post-victory spoils, what do we got? A lot of garbage. This stuff's all expensive. We're never going to play any of these cards. I guess there's a world to where we get to play Celestial Trifecta because of the Plunder ability, but these cards all suck. Let's just burn 1 reroll. Maybe it won't be horrible. And this is actually a quite good Acorn, right? With the Elusive plus Brash, just double keywords right at the start, and then maybe cheapening up a spell along the way. No complaints about the Acorn. That was actually a pretty decent reroll. So moving forward into the support champion. Again, we want somebody fairly cheap, ideally cheaper than Kaisa, so Scion and Elder Dragon aren't on the table. These aren't terrible with Braum. He's, of course, going to start with Scout, but he has Regenerate Challenger for 2 keywords. Just the Braum kit kind of sucks. What's this? Like Elixir of Iron. Not bad, I guess, with the Invoke. That's a big Mighty Poro, though, right? Just a 7-power Mighty Poro coming down. The thing with Mighty Poro is it doesn't really fix any of our problems, right? Well, I should say there's 2 things. Mighty Poro doesn't fix any of our problems in the sense that we just kind of want to be defensive in the early game because Kaisa is going to be doing the heavy lifting. But the other thing I'm kind of considering is we do start with this Green Glade Lookout. And one of the cards I typically cut out of the Kaisa decks is the 6-drop, the Hive Herald. And so the way I'm trying to kind of envision these games going is we're going to be starting with the Green Glade Lookout on board. It's going to reduce the cost of a Kaisa down to 4. And so if Braum costs 4 and Kaisa costs 4, we're just never putting Braum onto the board, right? We miss out on those opportunities. And so I think we do want to try and re-roll for like a 1, 2, or 3 cost champion with that, strategic idea in mind that Kaisa is probably going to cost 4, and we want to get our scout champion on board before Kaisa. So Braum might be a little bit too expensive. Let's just take a re-roll there. And now Lux Illuminated turns up. She's going to be completely fine. One of the interesting things with Kaisa is Spirit, right? The Spirit stacks. And so what we typically run into problems with Kaisa was like when you saw our previous game there, to where it's like, we can cast Second Skin, but it doesn't do anything. With Spirit, you at least always get something, because you can get stacks of Spirit, you can get stacks of Impact, and so I think the Lux kit here is going to be fine. It's going to be decent, being able to stack those abilities in. You can also get Barrier off of Lux. Whenever she attacks, she picks up the Barrier there as well. She's not a particularly strong Scout champion, right, because she doesn't get the barrier unless she supports, and so we may not get to use that too frequently, but all in all, I think this is strong enough to just stop rolling here. So we're going to pick up the Lux within the package there. Fuck me. I hit reroll. God damn it. We at least hit a reasonable selection after the reroll in Riven, right? This still checks a lot of the same boxes. Riven starting with the free attack. God damn it. I do not like these units starting with free attack because it's so easy for them to just die. God damn it. Right, we want to, like with the Lux, we could put her on board, and then as long as she's alive and not attacking, we could still copy the scout. There's a very real chance we play Riven and she just dies. God damn it. I don't really want to take Zillion. He does start in our hand, though. And you have to pick up fucking just terrible cards in Kahiri. Dim misclicks are the problems. I mean, I guess we'll just go full Shurima today and pick up the Zillion. I mean, oh, that sucks so much. All right, fine. That's who it is. It's been decided. And so now moving forward, I was really leaning towards just going to the shop. Like playing the Karma round is fine, and going to the shop and picking up powers is okay. I think I'm a little bit more inclined to just go towards the healers now. And so what I think we'll be trying to do is cut these expensive cards out of our deck. Hive Herald and Kahiri can go. And then we're going to go to every champion item chest that we can and stack all of the Kaisas, and then do just whatever we can to get that Kaisa on board early. I think that's good enough plan. Would have been a lot better if we hadn't misclicked that reroll, but it is what it is. Let's jump up here and battle Swain. So reasonable enough spoils. We'll take the Voidling. Kicking off with a keyword is fine. We're always happy to have more copies of Voidling with the card draw anyways, and so welcome to the squad, my friend. Going up to the healer, we're going to start cutting the expensive stuff out, right? And so I think I would rather have Hive Heralds than Kahiri, so we'll get Kahiri out of the mix, but I am going to be looking to get rid of that Hive Herald when we get up to this healer out here by the Fiora battle. And so reasonable enough stuff there. Looking forward, we're going to have a Fallen Feline. Let's just buy some kind of spells, and so I think we'll at least be in decent shape by the time we get to this Fiora battle. Alrighty, so definitely not picking up the Hive Herald here. The Desert Duel I'm kind of interested in, but, you know, we need to find that removal spell, but this isn't really the one that we want. Like, when we get up to that double statted Aurelion Soul at the end of the day, just striking it's not going to do anything. And so I think we can skip over the Desert Duel. We'll just pick up this Vitheldi Elder here. It is a big mountain of stats to hit the board all at once with the Shadow Totem, so maybe something useful will come out of that. Moving forward to the Fallen Feline, there's the removal, right? There's a Fallen Comet. It is a bit expensive, and the downside with it is it does mess with our grand scheme here of trying to reduce the cost of our Kaisa. And so I think I'm going to take it a little bit dangerously here and just skip over the Comet and actually pick up this Hexite Crystal. We do have a handful of predicts. We naturally have the 2-cost unit that does the predicting, and then Zillion is in our deck as well, so it's not completely off the table that we can't get access to this Hexite Crystal. And then it does do some useful stuff, like, say, casting the crystal to just, maybe kill one unit and break a spell shield or something. Like, there's some decent stuff we can do with the AoE, so I think we're going to pick up that. So now we'll move forward, going to the healer, finally bringing the the spoils of our labor to work, getting that 6th-cost unit out of the deck. Now, let's see if we can't get everything to come together at least once. see what I've forgotten about in this video. In the previous video, I had a sweet infinite combo going up against Lysandra, and I forgot that Lysandra doesn't let you go infinite like that, and so it was a bit of a pain point there. But with this, I think this is a reasonable start. I could see the argument for hanging on to both predict cards, both predict units, which we just mulliganed into anyways. Just try and make it a little easier to find our Kaisa. She has not turned up just yet, and so I think we'll just switch over into aggro mode. We got an elusive and we got a deathless. Both are pretty reasonable keywords for Kaisa.
Actually here.
Should she turn up at some point, and there she is. There she is twice. It's very interesting to me as a champion, right? Especially in the space of how Kaisa interacts with things like Spirit. She's a champion that just has basically infinite opportunities to get better and better and better as time goes on. But there's no real telling if we'll ever see a new keyword in the game. Like, I got to assume that we will see new keywords at some point as they do look to release new champions, just maybe not release them to PvP. But kind of interested in how that's all going to pan out. But all right, let's get our Zillion on board. Make sure that we have the scout unit down. It's not going to be a super strong Kaisa this round, but she should get enough of the job done, right? She's definitely evolved. She's going to come down with those 4 keywords that we already gave her. And so just copying the scout off of Zillion, it doesn't feel horrible. It could definitely be better, but it could definitely be worse if we didn't have all of these keywords, right? So if you want to think of the Kaisa that doesn't have access to full build, that doesn't have access to all of these keywords, then she would definitely be struggling here, right? She would just come on board. We'd have to copy Scout or maybe copy Elusive Tough just so that she can combat. But starting with all of those keywords just really solves a lot of the problems here. Now, I do believe I'm going to come in and just go ahead and KO Fiora. We have another Kaisa in hand. Oh, never mind. We can just win the game, right? That's another thing you can do, is just win the game. I was getting a little bit ahead of myself. I was like, well, we have this other Kaisa in hand. As long as Fiora isn't on board threatening lethals, then, we're not going to lose the round. So let's just go ahead and throw away this one Kaisa, pick up another one on the next turn, and be off to the races. But sometimes you can just outright win the game. It's so interesting stuff there. All right, so moving forward, we'll pick up the Voidling shell so we get these additional copies of Kaisa within the deck. I'm not certain how these interact with each other. I mean, I would think that if we already have Overwhelm, Challenger, whatever all this nonsense we get from the full build are, that you won't roll those keywords off the Voidling shell, but I wouldn't be surprised if that came in and messed us up somehow. But nonetheless, moving forward with the powers, evolution for this deck. Allies have +1/+1 for each keyword. Don't mind if I do. I do really love overprepared, starting with the random equipment, but giving all of these big stats, we're just going to be running strong straight up to the final battle. So moving forward, what do we got? We got a spell chest, a champion item chest, which I really want, or a purple healer. We don't need to heal whatsoever, so let's just run to the champion item chest. I don't like Tahm Kench battles, so I'm going to skip over that. I don't think this is going to be a very challenging Tahm Kench, but just something I don't enjoy. It's like the Caitlyn's got the Tryndamere Nexus. Fine. All right. Well, if you paid attention to that time-shifted battle, it was tough to tell if the Voidling shell messed up our Kaisas. I could tell that she didn't have Challenger one of those rounds, which was quite odd. But nonetheless, moving on, I'm just going to take the Vicaran Safecracker. I don't really want any of these cards, but the Safecracker does cost less than Kaisa, so it's not going to mess us up on that end, where those other champions are a little bit too expensive for that. And so into the champion item chest, let's see how we can mess up our Kaisa the rest of the way. I'll just go ahead, attach in the Spirit, right? See, she gets Challenger, Tough, Overwhelm, and she didn't have Challenger when I was making a Scout attack in that last game, and so kind of odd there. But nonetheless, Spirit will be fine. Get that added in. And now as we move forward, either Jin or Sejuani, I don't particularly care which we battle. I think Sejuani is probably a little bit easier, and so we'll go into that route heading into the shop afterwards. Alright, so that Kaisa definitely didn't have Challenger in that previous game. That's going to mess us up at some point, but is what it is, I guess. And so with these, the Hexite Crystal Edition is fine. I don't want a ton of Hexite Crystals in our deck, but it does give us a little bit of over-the-top reach, and so I think it's fine to add it here. I definitely don't want these expensives. Moving on, hitting up the shop. Just going to buy whatever the power is. Attack, grow my health to match my power is fine. It does solve a little bit of our Kaisa problems to where, you know, I want her to be making that Challenger Scout attack so we can just hook in a unit that's not going to kill her so she gets to make the follow-up attack right afterwards. That's what concerns me about Aurelion Sol. Right, we're going to attack into Aurelion Sol. He's just going to block and kill Kaisa instead of us being able to challenge one of the little shitty dragons and then have the follow-up attack be what does more magic. So hopefully, you know, the best defense gives us a little bit in terms of that. Still would like to find something in the way of a removal spell. The Flash Freeze is okay, right? We didn't accidentally pick up a removal spell along the way, did we? It's just the Hexite Crystals, right? Yeah, and so Flash Freeze gets the job done with what we're trying to do. We could definitely find better. I would definitely prefer like a stun, so that when Kaisa attacks, she can just stun that unit out of combat and we'll still deal the full damage through its toughness with the Overwhelm. But the Flash Freeze is going to do what we want in that it, you know, if we're attacking into a 100-100 Sejuani, we can at least KO the stats on Sejuani and continue from there. And so moving forward, I didn't want to battle Viego anyway, so it's nice to see him get skipped here. We'll go up to battle against Gangplank, roll into the epic item chest, and then we'll be up to our second mini-boss battle with Lulu. Alright, so let's get up into the mini-boss. Not too bad here with the Chronomancer and the Fearsome. These other ones not particularly exciting, so glad to add that one in. We've been doing a lot of predicting in these games, trying to find our copies of Kaisa, and so that works out pretty reasonably well to me. Now, an interesting set. Just a lot of really high-powered stuff in here. The Quick Strike Blade, letting Kaisa get the free attack, means she can potentially attack 3 times within the same turn. A very powerful thing there. Also really like the Shadow Totem, to where we can make an attack and get double Acathian Reigns out of the attack, and so a real strong way to come in and potentially just close out the attacks that way. And I'm leaning a bit more towards picking up the Ephemeral copy. Just that same thing we've been worried about this entire run, as to where we play Kaisa, she attacks, and then she just gets blocked by a giant Aurelion Sol or whatnot, and so the Shadow Totem does help alleviate that a little bit. So let's add that one in. Now we get to move on to the healer. No need to heal. We're already at max. Looking to get rid of a spell, I guess. So it'd either be the Vicaran Safecracker, which I don't hate, or the Void Seeker. And the Void Seeker is at least cheap. And so I'm going to take the Safecracker out of here. This is not a card we're really looking for. Now we'll move on against Lulu with the Tryndamere Nexus. This has been on my mind the entire weekend. I've been playing all kinds of Kaisa, trying to get her leveled up. I think my Kaisa was at level 1 as the weekend started, and now we've got her up to a respectable level. But I thought Riot came out and decided they were going to quit making like the big titty characters. Like, what's the purpose of this armor that Kaisa has? Is like, nobody ever makes titty-based breastplates, and so I was very surprised to see that Riot was like, "LOL, this is what we're gonna bring to the world today. It's Kaisa in the skin-tight outfit." And I was curious if they didn't, if they just didn't have a situation that was like, you know, you've got that guy in the office that just makes all the pervy stuff, and he has enough sway to where they just couldn't get rid of it, and they were just like, you know what, fuck it, fine. This is this is what we're doing. He's already put all the work in. This is the way it's got to be. Because I was remembered, I think it was in the sphere of Marvel, as to where there's a character called Power Girl, and I believe one of the artists was getting upset with the artistic direction that they were taking the comics, or they were upset with the, you know, something about the comic itself, and they decided that they were just going to keep drawing like larger and larger and larger boobs on Power Girl until the editors were going to, you know, finally listen to their concerns. And they finally got to the point to where Power Girl's boobs were, you know, enormously large enough for them to finally be like, dude, what the fuck? What are you doing with these boobs? And he's like, I've been trying to tell you all about this topic for literal months and nobody would listen to me. I'm glad you're finally listening now. I'm curious if that's not a kind of thing that came out with Kaisa. It's like, it's 2024 and this is the best you can do. It's like, I don't know, man. I occasionally get ads on Twitter or something about like random mobile games, and they always just have like overtly sexual tones for a game that's clearly designed to be a cash grab for children. I was like, well, this is Riot. What kind of blacksmith? The thing that was getting me with Kaisa is like, what kind of blacksmith decides like this is the armor that they're gonna make? And I was like, oh, is this what the second skin is? This is how they're getting past it, right? This is what they decided was like, oh, the second skin. All right, this is how we're gonna draw an essentially naked lady and place her out here in the scope and realm of the game. It's the second skin. I would love to have heard that meeting. Why did you all design the character this way? Why is it just skin-tight titties all over the place? Oh, it's her armor. It's the second skin. Okay. Okay, guy.
Here's where we make our
It's like there was always that guy. You would go to a Magic tournament. Like, unfortunately, it would occasionally happen on the local level at the Friday Night Magics, but it was typically you would only really see it when you would go to like a Grand Prix or something to where there's thousands of magicians in the room. And there would always be somebody that thought it was just a super good idea to have an ultra cringe-worthy playmat that was just like some kind of big titty anime girl. And it's like, this is embarrassing. Like, this is just completely obnoxious. I don't know the thought process that goes down to where you're like, I got a good idea today. I'm bringing out the big titty playmat to take in a room full of teenage children and younger. It's like fucking absurd. This is why people make fun of people playing Magic. It smells like a fucking sewer, and you got the guy over here with the big titty playmat. Welcome to Magic the Gathering.
See you next time.
welcome to Battles with Kaisa. But hey, we got through that battle. Lots of intriguing gameplay that I talked about there. Hope you enjoyed it. And so, reasonable enough stuff here. Kaisa with the barrier looks pretty good. We're zooming right through this. That alleviates a lot of our problems, getting barrier to where we can at least play her on the turn. We're going to be making the scout attack, and then she should survive the attack from that point forward. So, coming into the powers, what do we have with this? I don't hate Chrono Break. It is a rally. We could look towards the Dragon's Rage. I believe this is actually one of Kaisa's star powers now, to where when you summon a unit, it just gains Fury. I don't think it turns them into dragons, but with all of the keyword stuff, and then with Kaisa, or with the +1/+1 for all the keyword thing that we picked up. Dragon's Rage could be reasonable, but I think we're just going to go in with the Chrono Break. Rallies are always good. We don't have a lot of spells to cast, and just getting more attacks out of Kaisa should be how we end up finishing off this game, so we'll go ahead and add that one in. Now, moving forward, I'm not going to talk until we get to the final battle. There tends to not be too many super interesting decisions along the way. We'll end up going to this epic item, or this epic shop, just picking up whatever the epic power is. We're not going to take any cards that cost more than Kaisa, and if we find an item for a card that we already have, you know, great. Otherwise, it's just going to be a few probably easy battles, and then we'll make our way up to Aurelion Soul. Coming into the final battle, what do we got here? Let's just go with the Zillion. Why not? Why not, right? Giving the augment bonus at least sounds good to me. Up to Aurelion Soul with the duplicate. I think we should be fine. It was a bit unfortunate against Victor. I mean, I guess it's fortunate that we survived, but we did take like a 30 damage elusive hit right before we came into Aurelion Soul, and so we might be struggling a little bit here in the end boss, but we do have some revives to fight through a couple additional times. But this looks good enough to me. We'll get to draw the Zillion at the start of the game. That's great. We're on the odd attack token, so we'll get to reduce the cost of our Kaisa. And then kicking things off with just like the Voidling and getting all of the stats across our units should be good enough. I'm wanting to save the Betheldi Elder so that it can give... Maybe we don't. Maybe we just go ahead and play Zillion. The worst he can do is stun, right? It's like, just maybe we play Zillion since it's going to spread Scout across all of our units. And then we can look to cheapen up Kaisa like twice this round. Maybe just once this round. Can't lose Zillion in the mix. Right now we should be able to get a decent block next turn with the Betheldi Elder. We have the Scout units for Kaisa. This all seems very reasonable to me. This is going to be a pain point if we come back around to our Kaisa turn, and then she like lost Challenger because that ability doesn't work in the right way.
I was born.
Yeah, let's see.
I cannot leave.
Drop the elders in. Everybody's super strong now. Okay, we gotta be in good shape, right?
Nothing really stays the same.
So Kaisa comes in. She has so many relics, not enough card space, and so maybe instead of giving her titty engulfing armor, they should have just gave her a belt, you know? Maybe put some pockets in that suit. That would have fixed all the problems. Everything would have been good to go. No, I think we're okay. It looks like we have challengers on our Kaisas. What do you have? Fearsome? Oh, we don't have enough mana for him. We have to payday. So yeah, I think we're good. Anything have Fated? It's a little challenging to see all the keywords, but it's like Challenger and Quick Attack are already on the Green Glade Lookout. Nobody has Spirit, it looks. That's a bit unfortunate for the team. So we'll do whatever these second skins are going to do. I think this is just done. One of the things I wanted to make mention of earlier that doesn't quite work is it is interesting with this Shadow Totem Kaisa in the sense that if she didn't have Overwhelm, we could potentially hook in a unit, kill it with the Acathian Rain, and then the combat would bounce, right? And so she would get to attack again with the second ephemeral unit, but since we have Overwhelm, we don't get to pull that off. So let's just do this, I guess. This just doesn't matter. Just hooking in, bringing the full block in to all of our units and still doing ridiculous damage. That's pretty good. Oh, he's fucking duplicating silence? Are you serious? God damn it. We might still be okay. Looks like it brings in neg 32 on his board. God damn it. It was supposed to be so easy. So easy. Such a big number coming across. Okay, I think we're still fine. Both Kane and Darius are going to take a little bit of damage on that hook, and everybody still has big stats and over. Oh no, that doesn't count as a scout attack anymore? Or the Betheldi Elder didn't have scout. God damn it. Okay, I mean, I think we're still fine, but that's annoying as shit. Now he gets double Aurelion souls. We have to win on an open attack next turn, which is most certainly doable, but
Friend, I'm here to help.
bunch of bullshit, am I right? Why didn't that dickhead unit have scout? Alright, well, let's watch some animations and I think we're good to go. I think we're okay. You didn't make any attacks, everybody was too big and had barriers and stuff, and so let's give this another shot. That's the way I'm gonna do it. I'm just putting it out there. Say, give me your best, A-Soul. Bring it forward. Bring what you got. I'm not doing any hooks. GG. Well played. Victory to Kaisa. Whew. Tried our hardest to lose that one, but we survived it at the end of the day. And so, not a bad battle. I think we hit a lot of the high points in terms of what we're able to do here with Kaisa. Starting off with the full build is very strong. Having the Hunter's Machete thing to where we're guaranteed to get scout champions along the way just really ties into everything that she's wanting you to do in the sense of being able to make multiple attacks on each turn and then really blast your opponent with those Acathian Rains. And so to me, the thing to kind of call out with how this battle went and the things to watch out for, I like how we, really designed around that Greenglade lookout. We really made it so our deck was set up to where all of our cost reduction efforts were going to be directed directly onto Kaisa. I liked how we pulled that off, and then making sure that we had the setup to where we could always have the scout unit played before we played our Kaisa. And so Zillion, you did good work today. I had fairly low expectations for what you were going to do, but he really did everything that we needed. He was an early game play. He had scout, he had predict to help us find our Kaisas. He came down on board before she did, and then he was defensive enough to survive early game challenges to where he was still around so we could second skin out that scout ability. Very interesting stuff, very good games. And so I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way and you had a good time watching. This is Bust to Me. Thank you for being here.